All right, we move on now to Aric Almirola, driver number 10, Smithfield Ford. We will open the floor to media questions for Aric. Please raise your hand. Wait for the wireless mic. We're going to start over here with Jacob. Jacob.
Jacob Zeilman, Speed Sport. Aric, looking at this and the possibility of weather throughout the weekend, what's the strategy for practice knowing there's only the one session today? And are you an advocate or nervous about the possibility that wet weather could impact the racing this weekend?
Nervous. I'm not gonna lie. I think the course is tricky enough, and it's a challenge all on its own in the dry. So you add water to it, and not knowing, where there could be standing water and how the drainage system works around the road course part of the track, inside the infield part. I've not seen the racetrack be wet yet, so you just don't know. Like I said, where the standing water would be, where it would be dry, where it would, puddle up, and I think that's cause for concern. And then just the sheer fact that there's less grip when it's wet, so it makes it much more challenging, on an already challenging course.
Phil?
Phil Overton, WIXC Radio. Aric, given the fact that you've had 2 near misses for wins this year, would your strategy be to try to go all out for the win here, or play the points battle and stay in that top 12? Which way would you go?
Honestly, Johnny and I have sat down and talked this week going into this weekend, and man, we really can't afford to do anything different. I think our MO all year has been show up, go through practice, work on our race car to get it driving good, get the most speed out of it that we can, and then go execute the race. And that's really been, what's got us to where we're at today. So I think for us going into this weekend, trying to change that mentality or change that strategy and try and be conservative, and, I think would be a mistake. So we're just going to go and do what we do and race and try and put down good laps and try, for me, the driver, not to make mistakes. Hopefully our pit crew's on it. They've been so good the last couple weeks. So, if we all do our parts, I feel like we should run top 15, top 12, top 10, which is very standard for us, especially on a road course. We ran top 10 most of the day at Sonoma, and I think finished 7th. We qualified 7th at Watkins Glen and had a really fast car. So I think looking at where we stack up, I think we should be able to run top 12, and that should be good enough, on points to do what we need to do, considering we have that 23-point cushion going into this weekend.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rank yourself personally as a road course racer?
Man, going into this year, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, about a 2, slightly above novice. But I have put so much work and so much effort into it this year, knowing that I would be the weak link, knowing that the cars were going to be good, and knowing that I was going to have the tools and resources at my disposal to get better, and to have teammates that are really good at it to lean on. That's the first time in my career, that I've had the car, the tools, the people, the teammates. And so I've put a full out effort on getting better at road course racing, because I knew that that's been my weakest link, on all the tracks that we go to. And, I feel like I'm probably a 7 now. I don't think that, I'm even close to being good enough to challenge to win on the road courses that we go to, but I think that I'm very competitive.
Aric, excuse me, Al Pearson, Auto Week. For years, Talladega and Martinsville were the wild card playoff races. This is now the wildest of the wild cards. Would you prefer this not to be a cutoff race? It may not affect you, but people farther back, would you rather this be like the first race of a round as opposed to the third race of a round?
What difference would it make? I have that view, that approach. what difference does it make where it's at? You still have to score the most amount of points you can. And they take your point total, or whether or not you've won, from those 3 races. So the fact that it's a cutoff race, or if it was the first race, I honestly think it makes no difference, at least for me, in the way that I view it. Other people might view it differently, but you know, it being a cutoff race makes no difference. It doesn't change the way we're going to race, doesn't change anything. We're going to go and, you know, hopefully we have a fast car. Hopefully the driver does his part. Hopefully the crew does their part, and we all execute, and we go and maximize our day. And whether it's the first race or the, you know, last race, it doesn't matter, in my opinion.
Lewis?
Louis Frank of Reuters. Still relatively new kid on the block. Your teammates, Clint, Kevin, and Kurt, trying to do it alphabetically there, are some of the best active road racers. Have you had any time to...
Wait a second. You said you're trying to do that alphabetically, and you did Kurt?
Kurt before Kevin?
Yeah, so it's KU in front of KE.
Coffee.
Yeah.
I need more coffee.
Okay,
Or bacon.
just checking. I'm just checking.
Or bacon, or both. In any event, do you go to them for, you know, some advice on road courses due to their talent and success?
Yeah, some, and then, you know, obviously we had the test here, so we tested for, you know, 2 days. The 41 and 4 tested one day, and the 14 and the 10 team tested the other, and so that was helpful. Spent some time in the Ford simulator. That's been helpful. And then looking over data. You know, I've had that opportunity to look at those 3 guys' data versus my data. One thing that's been challenging is the course changed a little bit from the first test to the second test, and then now the tire's different than what we tested on, so that'll be different as well. But yeah, I've had the opportunity to look at some data and talk to those guys, and obviously we have our, you know, competition meetings, and we talk in those about the weekend pass and the weekend ahead. So this week there's been a lot of talk about the Roval and getting ready for this weekend, so it has been nice to lean on those guys, because they are really good road racers. But talking and doing all that stuff and listening, it's still different when you're in the car and actually applying it in the car. And kind of your natural instincts are to do whatever they are that comes naturally to you. So trying to apply what you learn from them is the challenge, and that's where, you know, I really try and focus on the data and look at, you know, what am I doing? What are they doing? How do I do what I do differently? And those different things. But, you know, I think as a whole, our company puts a lot of effort into every single race that we go to. It doesn't matter if it's a speedway race, a short track race, an intermediate race, or a road course. You know, and that's the beauty of you know, being at Stewart-Haas Racing, is I feel like they have really no weak links. You know, there's a full out effort on every single race that we go to, and that's the kind of effort that it takes, and I have to do my part.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Aric, how physically challenging, demanding can this course be, not to you, but to the car? And I think about, especially as you guys hit the bumps or the turtles or whatever they call it. I know in the chicane on the backstretch, those are bigger now since the test. What kind of a concern is it about the beating that these cars will take over what is a long road course race?
That's a great question, and I don't know the answer to that. I do know that, you know, at the test, looking at, you know, how violently we were going across the bumps, and you know, it's going to take a toll on the cars for sure. We ran a lot of laps at the test, and so I feel like from an endurance standpoint, you know, we should have a pretty good idea, just based on the amount of laps we ran at the test and taking the cars back and to the shop and looking at all the components, and identifying weaknesses or things that, you know, held up good. So from that aspect, I feel comfortable, but there's still a lot of unknown. Like you said, apparently the curbs are different from the test, and those, you know, little things that might pop up that create issues, and that's honestly from the standpoint that we're in on points and stuff. Those are the things that we worry about. I'm not as worried about you know, just getting plainly outrun. I feel like we'll be competitive enough and do our job on that part. The things that I worry about are the things that are out of our control. And those are the things I shouldn't worry about. I should be able to, you know, put that, you know, in the back of my mind and not worry about it as much, because I just need to worry about the things I can control. But those are the things that naturally, you know, bug you, because they can creep up and bite you, and it's something that, you know, you didn't have any control over. So hopefully those things don't happen, and we'll have a good race. And you know, the cars are going to take a beating. You look at most of the cars at the test, and the noses are beat up on them. The rockers and the side skirts are all flared out on them from running over the curbs. You know, you look at the sides of the noses where they hit the curbs, and the noses and stuff are all wrinkled up. So there is a lot of damage that's done to the vehicles going across the curbs.
Do we have any other questions for Aric? We'll end with Nate.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Aric, there weren't a lot of people picking your team to make it out of the first round after the first two races. How good do you feel, and are you guys using that as motivation at all, that not a lot of people were expecting you to be in this position?
The beauty about my race team, and I feel like I hopefully lead by example, I don't really care what anybody else says or thinks, because your guys' opinion or anybody else's opinion doesn't make my race car go faster, and none of you signed my checks. So I don't care. I think we hone in on what we do, and we show up and put our head down and go to work. And some weekends it's good enough to run up front and win, and some weekends it's not. But our goal is to go and maximize every week. And these last couple of weeks, we've showed up to the racetrack with speed and run up front, and we've been, you know, kind of riding that high and riding the momentum. And I really think, kind of going back to June, you know, we've had a lot of speed. We've showed up to racetracks and been really competitive. Led a bunch of laps at Chicago, felt like we had a shot to win there, and it didn't go our way. Went to Loudon, led a bunch of laps there, had a shot to win, didn't go our way. And we've kind of been riding that high, that momentum, from showing up to the all sorts of different racetracks with speed. And our team is coming together. Our team is gelling. Johnny and myself are getting on the same page. You know, we're a young team. Most of our guys on our team are in their late 20s, early 30s. Johnny's first year is being a crew chief at anything. You know, he's never been a crew chief in K&N, in truck, in Xfinity. This is his first year being a crew chief, period. And this is my first year with the organization. So we've kind of went through some growing pains and continue to go through some, but building together and working together has been so much fun. And I feel like we've had a lot of success, and we've run really good. And our ceiling for potential is so high. I don't even feel like we're close to it yet, just because we're still, you know, new and working together. So I've enjoyed that. I've enjoyed these last couple weeks. Have been a lot of fun. You know, the intensity level certainly picks up in the playoffs, and rising to that, you know, challenge and showing that we are capable. I think, you know, we've proven that the last couple weeks with the runs that we've had, and then kind of riding that high and that momentum. And then this week announcing that we've got a new partnership with Valley Technical Academy. It just feels right. Like everything is going right. And you see that in sports and especially in racing, where when things get on a roll, they just kind of continue to go. And I feel like we're right there. I feel like we're on the brink of just continuing to keep this momentum going.
All right. Thanks a lot for coming in, Aric.
Thanks, guys.